Nnamdi Kanu approaches Supreme Court to appeal stay of execution judgment. Yeah, Nnamdi Kanu actually got a judgment to discharge and acquit him and get him compensated unconditionally. Unfortunately, the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister for Justice, Abubakar Malami, had to appeal against that judgment to stay the execution of that judgment. And that is why Nnamdi Kanu is still being detained under the custody of the DSS up to now. And all effort to get him released has failed because the federal government is currently not obeying court orders, rather than looking for a way to scuttle the judgment in order to continue keeping Kanu in custody. So Kanu is now approaching Supreme Court to appeal stay of that execution, which was filed by Malami against the judgment that was earlier secured. Nnamdi Kanu asked Supreme Court to set aside appeal court's ruling halting his release from custody. The leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, has approached the Supreme Court to set aside the ruling of the Court of Appeal, staying the execution of the court's judgment discharging him. Nnamdi Kanu asked Supreme Court to set aside appeal court's ruling, So, Kanye Daily recalls that the appeal court in Abuja had discharged Kanu and ordered his immediate release after quashing all counts of terrorism charge preferred against him by the federal government. However, instead of complying with the court judgment, the government asked the appeal court to stay the execution of the judgment freeing Kanu pending the resolution of an appeal it filed at the Supreme Court. The appeal court, however, after reserving judgment on the matter, granted the prayers of the federal government and stayed the execution of its earlier judgment. Not satisfied with the development, Kanu's lead counsel, Michael Ezekume, filed an appeal predicated on 3 grounds at the Supreme Court. And in the appeal dated 3rd November, the IPOB leader sought an order of the Supreme Court setting aside the decision of the Court of Appeal made on 28 October. In addition, Mr. Kanu asked the Supreme Court to restore the execution of the appellate court's verdict of 13th October, freeing the IPOB leader. In another ground of appeal, Mr. Kanu argued that the Court of Appeal erred in law when it heard and determined an application for a stay of execution of his judgment in a criminal suit. In ground 2, the IPOB leader contended that the appellate court erred when it failed to evaluate the evidence led by his legal team. The court below failed to properly evaluate and ascribe proper evidential or probative value to the appellant's counter affidavit filed on the 21st day of October 2022, Kanu stated. That by staying execution of a judgment that was essentially declaratory, the lower court, which ought to defend the integrity of the judicial process, literally overruled itself and vacated its own judgment even before the apex court has heard it, Mr. Ezekume argued. Kanye Daily recalls that the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, had revealed why Nnamdi Kanu won't be released despite the court ruling in his favor. So this is again judicial impunity. This is again the impunity on the side of the government not actually obeying the rule of law. A court has ruled, and then federal government in its own power tried to appeal it in order to keep Kanu in custody for just no reason. And what is the government's reason? That releasing Kanu is a threat to the existence of Nigeria. That is Malami's reason. Is that a reason? Like somebody was saying the other day, Dasuki, that served under Jonathan, was kept in custody. And all they kept him there for all the years. And when he was released and is working freely without a problem to the country. All right. So why is Kanu's own different? Okay. The truth here is that these guys are scared of Kanu. Kanu has a large mouth. Kanu has a large heart. And they know that Kanu will not give up. He's determined on getting Biafra. And they don't like that. So, and Kanu has an enormous force, all right, across the whole Igbo land, across the southeastern state of Nigeria. So they know that releasing him, he's just going to go and continue his work to get Biafra nation. And that is what they don't want. They actually don't want Igbo man to rise to a significant level in the country. I don't know why the Hausas and the Fulanis have such hatred, especially the Fulanis, such amount of hatred on the Igbos to a point that they don't even want them to breathe. They've killed a lot of people in the name of trying to catch Kanu, and up to now, all those extrajudicial killings have not been investigated, just because it was done under this government that is currently blood-sucking. So I really don't understand why this Kanu should continue to be in custody. Okay, already the human rights group under United Nations have been pressing Nigeria to obey the court law and release Kanu, but government under leadership of Malami has refused to do that. DSS under the instructions of the government has refused to do that. They are keeping this guy violating his human right actually. He has a right to agitate for secession if he wants. And in a democratic setting, he should be heard. He should be given a fair hearing. Why is this man agitating for Biafra? Let's understand what is going wrong and what can we do differently to amend it or to correct it so we continue to exist as one. Rather than engaging in such constructive discussion to settle out peacefully, they are now using power to arrest him, to lock him up, and to kill. They killed a lot of IPOB members, all in the name of violence in the Southeast. They made Southeast military region. Meanwhile, the amount of violence in the Southeast is not up to the bloodshed that has happened in the Northeast and North Central, and now Northwest. All right, what the Boko Haram guy and ISWAP guys are doing in the North is not to be compared to the agitation that IPOB is having in the Southeast. But then they shift all their attention to Southeast, leaving the North. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? In this COVID period, between 2020 and 2022, the ISWAP and the Boko Haram and the bandits have killed and kidnapped more people than COVID even killed in this country. And still, attention is not given to ISWAP, bandits, and Boko Haram. Boko Haram and ISWAP had the gut to get to Niger State, had the gut to get to Abuja to hit the guard of brigade that is in charge of security of Aso Rock, and still nothing has happened. They didn't see that as insecurity, rather than still concentrating on Nnamdi Kanu and the Southeast, just because of sheer hatred for the Igbos. It's unfortunate, and it actually has to stop. I know that one day this impunity will end, and the truth will prevail. So this is what Kanu is saying, trying to challenge the stay of execution of the judgment to release him and to declare him discharged, and to see how he can be released. I know that very soon he will be released. The government is just scared of releasing him because they don't know what will happen, what this man will do next if he's released. That is just the thing. He's being kept because of fear. And I pray that as he's under their custody, they don't inject anything in his body in such a way that by the time they release him, he just stay a few years or a few months and he dies. They shouldn't poison his body. They shouldn't harm him. And when he's released, he should go for medical checkup to be sure that nothing foreign has been injected into his body to reduce his lifespan, just because they are scared of him. I just hope they don't do that, because they don't have good intentions. They don't have a good plan for him and for the Igbo people. So this is what Kanu is doing, and I hope that one day God will grant his prayers and he will be released from the custody. And then he will go back to UK again to see his family. Thank you for listening, and let's hear your comment below.